How's it going, folks? Stu here. Long time no see. Very busy summer so far. But if there was ever a film that was going to get me back in front of the camera for you guys, it was going to be a Tom Cruise running like a madman maniac across buildings again film, wasn't it? And would you believe it? That is exactly what's happened again. Tom Cruise, he can't stop running on top of buildings and with cameras in front of him. He's gone and shot a new movie with his friend, Christopher McQuarrie, the director of the previous two Mission Impossible. It's a new Mission Impossible film. It's called Dead Reckoning Part 1. It's a two-parter. Wow, they love doing that these days. And I love watching Tom Cruise nearly die on camera for us in a variety of different environments. So, Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning, Part 1. Too many colons there. What is this? A bloody bowel cancer screening? Jesus Christ. Actually just looked it. No colons. Only one. It's a hyphen, so colour me stupid. The franchise as a whole has gone through a bunch of different sort of directors and tones and styles and voices. Some of them far too horny, looking at you, Mission Impossible 2, you randy beast. But Christopher McQuarrie stepped in a few films back with Rogue Nation and has sort of taken the reins of the franchise at this point. This is his third one in the director's seat, with Mr. Tom Cruise, again, leading things as Ethan Hunt. But right off the bat, this thing is an absolute riot. I had a stupid amount of fun with Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. Do I have to say the full thing every time? It is clear at this point that Christopher McQuarrie and Tom Cruise's sort of cinematic partnership is just kind of chugging along at a very comfortable pace. There are no real signs of them slowing down here, which is exhilarating to watch as an audience member. This is 2 hours and 45 minutes, I think, that just zips by. It is a real blink and you miss it sort of a film. In a different way, I think, to the previous two, which is the first thing which I was immediately kind of surprised by in the film. I think Fallout and Rogue Nation before it had a very sort of more somber and serious tone to them. You know, there's humour in there and it's not afraid to kind of have a wink, wink, nudge, nudge when it needs to. But those films are imbued with this real kind of anxiety, I suppose, this paranoia that follows Ethan Hunt's character. And thematically, those films work fantastically for that. But I was really impressed by the way that McQuarrie seems to have just kind of taken a slight pivot in terms of tonality here with this one. It's a much more kind of, dare I say, whimsical Mission Impossible time. Mr. Cruise is an absolute lunatic. We knew it already, but he's just sort of, he's put the stamp on the paper. He said, yep, I am a complete lunatic. But around him, the team are just as enjoyable as well. Love Simon Pegg's Benji character. He's been a great staple of pretty much all of these films, give or take a few. Obviously being the kind of light-hearted touch to a lot of the films. But I guess in a film which is much more sort of humorous and playful overall, they're all having a bit of a go at that, you know? They're all having a little, hey, we're having fun while we're in immense peril and nearly dying, eh? But I like the stuff that he's given here to do, alongside Ving Rhames as well, who is great. The pairing there, really good. Rebecca Ferguson returns again. I'm gonna say it, I don't think she's as good as she was in the previous ones. Just, I guess her character isn't maybe given as much good stuff as her previous ones, but I understand it. The big standout, I guess, for me are the newer faces in there, most notably Hayley Atwell, who really does just have an absolute hoot alongside Tom Cruise here. That pairing works really, really well. Good chemistry. She's got great charisma. This is probably my favourite I've seen her in a big franchise, right? This is good. Good stuff from Hayley Atwell. But then there's Pom Clemente, who you'll know from the Guardians films, whose character is just nuts, and I just enjoyed how much it just went for that nuts character vibe and how much she went for that vibe. There's not a huge amount to her character other than just, I guess, being borderline rabid when it comes to wanting to just crush Tom Cruise. Every time she popped up on screen, just a lot of fun seeing her throw herself into things, make some fun noises, a good addition to the cast. And I think at this point in the franchise, that's something that definitely makes these films as enjoyable as they are. That kind of big cast vibe, that ensemble vibe of everyone doing their little part along the way, and everyone does sort of have their part to play in various different action set pieces. And it's those set pieces that are the bread and butter of Mission Impossible at this point. So we got to talk about the action, and we got to talk about, I'm not going to not talk about the things that they do in this film. A lot of talk about how they were going to top previous ones, and I think the biggest thing this film probably has going for it is the expectations that are built from knowing that they're going to be trying to top the things they did in previous films. In Fallout, they had like 5 of the best stunts I've seen in an action film ever back to back. I mean, like, there's like an hour and a half of stitched action sequences, and all 5 of those big set pieces are just insanity, and it's breathtaking and it's stunning. And I'll be honest, I don't know that any of the stuff in this film really tops that. But it is still very, very, very spectacular to watch in many ways. Good amount of running too. I feel like every Mission Impossible film, we've got to sort of tally up how much running he's doing. And I wouldn't be surprised if there was like a direct graph that you could draw between the quality of Mission Impossible films and the amount of running. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe not. I'm trying to think. Mission Impossible 2 is my least favourite. I think there was a lot of running in that. I might be wrong. But he runs. Oh boy, he runs. And he runs good in this one. I will say, I have no way of proving this, and this won't mean anything until you've seen the film, but I'm sure there's a moment where they cut away from his running, and I just know that you shot him running more. I know you did. Put it in a director's cut. He runs on roofs, he runs down roads, he almost runs on water. I wouldn't be, if it did do that, I'd be like, yeah, fair enough, the dude could do it. And the stitching of all of those action set pieces is hugely enjoyable. I don't think it's quite as satisfyingly done as previous installments. You'll notice most of my problems with the film come from just lining it up and comparing it against previous ones, which I'm not always up for. I don't always want to just lean on things not being as good as the ones I've seen before. I think it's borderline lazy when it comes to reviewing, but I can't avoid it here. In Fallout, part of the thing that made that film so incredible and such a masterful action film overall was the way that McQuarrie stitched together action set pieces along with this stunning score from Lorne Balfe. It was like poetry. It was like watching a dance for an hour and a half. The way that the characters would sort of fall into the next set piece that you don't quite see coming until it is there in front of you. That vibe is definitely here, and it's absolutely as globe-trotting as the previous ones have been. But I think out of the playfulness of McQuarrie's directing tone here and writing tone and editing tone of the film overall comes a little bit of a kind of randomness or a kind of snapshotty grab everything and throw it at everyone sort of vibe. And while we're on things that did bug me a little bit about the film, I'm not convinced that the overall kind of villain of this thing was as satisfying or as convincingly conveyed as previous films. And there is a very kind of the moment relevance of the themes of that villain character and that system, which sometimes can go one of two ways for me in films. It can either feel a little bit eye-rolly, a little bit sort of too knowing of itself and too smug, or it can feel just accidentally of its time and satisfyingly done. Dead Reckoning Part 1, it definitely falls, I think, overall into the latter. I think it's done well, but there are moments in there that threaten to dance over that line. And I've touched on it already, but I've got to give special props again to the score from Lorne Balfe here, which, again, just kind of nuts good. Very, very good. Congratulations on making a very, very good score, good sire. The sound in general, just nuts good on this one. Saw it in Dolby, and goodness gracious, if you ever want to feel like your skeleton's trying to get out your body, watch this one in Dolby. It'll rattle you. It'll rattle you. But ultimately, this one is definitely a Mission Impossible film. It is amping things up in many regards. It's doing things not as well in other regards. I think technically this is a notch down for the franchise, which was just going upwards and upwards. I think it was naturally going to happen at some point. It's probably my 4th favourite Mission Impossible film behind Fallout, Rogue Nation and Ghost Protocol. But it's a testament to how good these films are at this point that I can say that and still recommend it and say this is absolutely some of the most fun I've had in the cinema. And alongside John Wick 4 continues just a great year for action blockbusters, just smashing things. But what about you guys? Have you seen Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1? It is out next week over here in cinemas. I believe everywhere in the world, so not just over here. You can all go watch it. Let me know whatever you thought about it in the comments down below. Love to know where it ranks for you in the Mission Impossible franchise overall. And, you know, any things that you disagree with me on. Although you're wrong. Drop your comments down below, we'll have a little chat. And of course, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see me talk about more shit, go ahead and click subscribe. The button is down there for that, as well as links to my socials. I will see you guys very soon for some more thoughts on more films. But until next time, somebody get Mr. Cruz a green tea. Let the man calm down. Do you think he's ever had a green tea? Do you think he knows what tea is? Probably. Probably.